Hi there. Are you aiming for a distinction in English? Whether you are in grade 10, 11 or 12 or preparing for GCE, I've got something for you today. I am Ronald Kaunda, an English teacher and exam marker. And in this video, I am going to share with you something very important that top performing students have used in the past, and I believe that you can use these tips for yourself to write your upcoming exam. Whether you are writing this year or next year, these tips are going to help you. At the end of the video, I've got two bonuses that I'm going to give you. So stick around and watch up to the end so that you know what I got for you. And what I've got for you is going to help you prepare for the exam, and also it's going to help you know whether you are ready for the exam. So please watch the video up to the end so that you get that bonus for free. Okay, so you don't need to be a genius anyway, you just need to be smart and you need to be a prepared learner. How do you do that? Subscribe. If you subscribe, you'll be a prepared student. Let's dive into tip number one. Tip number one is that you need to know the exam structure. In Zambia, English comes in two papers, paper 1 and paper 2. In paper 1, you've got 5 to 6 or 7 questions, and you are asked to choose one and write a composition based on your chosen question. You need to know that when I go into that room writing, I'm going to have an array of questions and I'll choose one. I think that's very easy to do, and I always encourage my students to choose narrative composition. The reason is very simple. In narrative composition, you're just writing a story. And if you want to know how to write a narrative composition, you can read it on my website, ronaldkaunda.com, or you can join the lessons online where I explain these things in detail. Anyway, let's move on. So that's paper 1. You choose one question. Then in paper 2, you are given what we call a situation composition. This is where a situation is given to you already. Points or notes or information is given to you. All you need is to put everything together to come up with a composition. And sometimes it could be tricky because most of the questions in paper 2 come with a bit, advanced compositions. So you need to know that. Okay. Tip number 2, you need to read questions carefully. Even in paper 1, where there is flexibility in terms of you choosing questions, you need to read. Now, this also applies when you are writing summary. Why? When you are writing summary, sometimes the question could have 2 parts. For example, if they say summarize the causes and effects, right? So in that summary, you're going to focus on causes and effects. So if you don't read the question carefully, you might just write causes and feel that you have answered the question adequately. A lot of students, and every year we see students failing to answer questions because they did not read the question carefully and they did not understand the task. In composition, you may have words like discuss, you may have words like describe. Just by the use of words, you know what type of composition you are expected to write. If the question says narrate an incident where you had to say, if it wasn't for my grandmother, I would have died. That's a story because the author uses, the question says narrate. So it's a narrative composition. Describe, descriptive composition. So the words that are used will determine what type of composition you are going to write. So read questions carefully, and in the video that you can find here, I talked about how you can deal with reading questions carefully. So if you haven't seen that video, go to that video. You're going to see how this plays. Tip number 3, plan before you write. Every student that I have seen who has gotten a distinction in English plans before they write. There are 2 reasons why you need to do this. There could be more reasons, but for me, my experience with my students is that a student will start writing and along the way, they'll run out of ideas. because they did not plan what they are going to write and how far it can take them. The second reason is that sometimes students will start writing and then they come up with a very brilliant idea and they feel they shouldn't just leave it. And that brilliant idea is very different from the first idea. So what do? They cancel what they had written to start the new idea. And these are the students that ask for more paper, unnecessarily in the exam room. They'll say, "Sir, I need paper to write." The papers, the answer sheets that we give at the initial stage of the exam, the answer sheets are enough for you to answer the questions. But yes, when you ask for more paper or answer sheets, we will give you. But the problem is you'll have wasted time because you started without planning. So that's not good. The same concept applies to writing summary. Yeah, you don't plan your summary, so you write so many words or too little to the number that you are given. So planning is very important. Tip number 4, that people that have succeeded and gotten distinctions in English use. They use the right language. A lot of students think that when they are writing an exam, that's the best time to shine by using what we call in Zambia bombastic words. So don't use big words unnecessarily because they might confuse you, they might confuse the reader, and you may not know how to use them. Now, I'll give a practical example. When I was in high school, this happened to me. There's a time I wanted to say congratulations. I ended up saying condolences. I know those are different words, but how that happened, I don't know. And those were big words when I was in school. I know most of you know these words and you cannot confuse them. But what I'm saying is, do not use words which are big and you may know for whose meanings whose usage you may not be very familiar with. So try to use the right language and then just use correct English. Use linking words like however, in addition, for example. That is going to make the flow of what you are writing, especially in summary and in composition, very clear for the reader. And make sure the words that you are using match the task you are given. For example, are you using formal language? If, for example, you are asked to write an informal letter where you are writing a letter to your friend, you can use any kind of language and it is acceptable, but your grammar still must be correct. For example, you can say, "Dear John, I remember those moments when you and I used to walk down the street." But if you're asked to write a formal letter, then you can't use casual language. Although the grammar is correct, you cannot use casual language. So that's the distinction that I'm trying to make when I talk about the right usage of language as you write. Tip number 5, practice with past papers. I cannot ever overemphasize this point. Why? Because you do not know the exam that's coming, but you can look at past papers and anticipate. And it is that anticipation that brings preparedness, because you know something that's coming is similar to what you have encountered before. So practice and try to write full papers, part papers. Or you can say, okay, this week I'm going to practice with grammar. And so you do transformations and fill in the blank spaces. And the next week I'm going to practice with summary. Read some passages from past papers and summarize them and give them to a teacher. Let them see what you are writing and see if what you are writing is okay. You can also use online tutors like myself to look at your work and see if you are doing the right thing. So using past exam papers is very important because it helps you. And here is the thing. If you look at a past paper and you cannot answer any question, then you know you still have a long way to go. You have to practice more. But if past papers are asking questions that you feel familiar to and you can answer those, then you know that you are getting ready for the exam and you're going to get a distinction. And tip number 6, build grammar and vocabulary, because building grammar helps you to answer the right questions, helps you write best summaries or good summaries, helps you write good compositions. So grammar is what cuts across. But also, if you have built your grammar, then you can easily comprehend what is written. So comprehension becomes very easy. You need to think about how to punctuate sentences. Go to the basics and just, look at sentence structure, types of sentences, and how you can use different types of sentences. Tip number 7, manage your time wisely. Now, I alluded to this fact when I was talking about planning your essay, where a student will start writing and half the journey they decided to ditch the first idea, they go to the next one. That's wasting time. Make sure you learn how to manage your time. Paper 2 specifically will have 3 sections: comprehension, summary, and structure. So if you are going to have those sections, know how much time you are going to spend on each section. Let me talk about composition. If you are going to have 1 hour 45 minutes to write one composition, know how much time you are going to spend on planning, writing, and proofreading. You really need to proofread. Again, check this video, the same video I talk about proofreading. But if you want to know how you can do that, you can contact me on my website and I can help. The last tip that I have seen top performing students use is they think like an examiner. Don't think like a student, think like an examiner. What do examiners want? Examiners want clear structure. When you write your composition, it should show that yes, someone wrote this. You need to develop your ideas properly. If it's comprehension, you need to read and answer the questions based on the text. And if you do this, the examiner will be very happy. So avoid generic answers and things that just come to your mind and say, Bazaziva, he will know what to do with this. You need to be focused. So if you want a distinction in English, remember it's not magic. It's preparation, it's strategy, and consistent practice. Know the paper, read carefully, and plan your answers. Use the right language and revise with intent. Which of these strategies will you try first? Let me know in the comments. If you find this video helpful, hit the like button, subscribe for more tips, and check the description for free downloads and bonus materials. I promised you that I'm going to give you bonuses. So I've got a worksheet. This worksheet is going to help you know whether you understand the exam structure and whether you are ready. Try it. Just use it to just see how you are moving in your preparation for the exam. And then I also have a freebie that I'm giving you. You can print it and just read. This is going to help you just look at things that you need to do before you go into the exam room. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you and bye for now.